Museum exhibits that come to life? Kris Kristofferson as a time traveler? This is... Oh, wait. Seriously? We're doing another movie about time travel? Oh, son of a... Hello and welcome to Movie Night, your one-stop shop for all of your time-traveling needs. Hi, my name's Jonathan Paula. Our first movie tonight is Night at the Museum 2, Battle of the Smithsonian. Released on May 22nd of this year, it is the sequel to the very highly successful blockbuster hit of 2006. Starring Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Hank Azaria, Amy Adams, and a huge ensemble cast, this movie has everybody in it. In the first movie, our protagonist Larry Daly, played by Ben Stiller, becomes the night watchman at New York's Natural History Museum, where the exhibits literally come alive at night. Fast forward a couple of years for the plot of the sequel, and we find that Larry's old museum pals are being shipped away to live in storage underneath the National Mall in the Smithsonian Museum archives. Larry has to travel to Washington, D.C. and do battle with the quick-talking and goofy pharaoh, Kumun-Ra, played brilliantly by Hank Azaria, for the mystical golden tablet that brings all of the exhibits to life. I hadn't seen the original until yesterday, so watching both movies back-to-back was a real treat. Ben Stiller is refreshing in pretty much the only role he's able to play well, the slapstick hero with a heart of gold. Although dreadfully underused, every member of the supporting cast does their share of bringing in the laughs. Having nearly every actor from the original movie reprising their role in this bigger and more adventurous sequel is always a great recipe for a successful movie. The characters' developments from the previous film felt organic, and the new problems presented in this sequel didn't feel like the usual Hollywood money grubbing like we've seen in so many other franchises. I felt that bringing the action of the Smithsonian was a great concept, allowing for many fun and exciting character additions. And as this is a family movie, I think the strategy worked wonderfully. The action is nearly non-stop throughout the film, with a playful and light-hearted tone, keeping everything kid-friendly for the 105-minute runtime. Unlike the first film, Stiller was very smartly cast opposite Amy Adams as the female romantic lead in this film, and she really shines through above the rest of the cast. This romantic subplot gives the movie a nice foundation that I felt the first movie kinda lacked. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to enjoy this movie too much, but I genuinely laughed and smiled more than a few times while watching this movie, which can best be described as the ultimate kid's fantasy. I especially loved how the film brought to life several famous American paintings. It's an interesting and fun scene that you can't help but smile at. Obviously, this movie's large ensemble cast is where it really shines, but I couldn't help but feel this is also where the movie failed. Many of the characters, especially the trio of villains that Kumun-Ra enlists to help him retrieve the tablet, seemed woefully underdeveloped and poorly utilized in this film, only getting a few lines each. There were several scenes where characters were haphazardly introduced just to deliver a single joke, and then it seems they were forgotten about for the rest of the film. This is in contrast to the original movie, where I felt the core cast of characters meshed very well with each other. On a related note, sadly, Robin Williams, who was easily the most memorable character from the first film, is mostly absent from this sequel, making only minor appearances to open and close out the plot. So it was a very fun and friendly family comedy that I think complemented the original film very nicely, but let's see what you guys had to say about Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian. Ben Palm 1 said, "I enjoyed the Battle of the Smithsonian, but mostly because I enjoyed relating the movie to my own Smithsonian visit, and because I was in the mood for a cheesy, unintelligent comedy. Who knows when I'll be in both of those moods again." Dan M. 966 writes, "Night at the Museum 2 was utter crap. It was such an embarrassment to the first one, as many of the jokes were generally not funny, and most of the film was a slapstick comedy mess. I think it would be a good movie for people under the age of 10. I loved the first one, but this is a 2 thumbs down." Evil T-Limp writes, "I thought Night at the Museum, both the original and the sequel, was cute. I enjoyed watching it and the visuals were quite impressive. Also, Amy Adams is always fun to watch." Alright, well, I got some complaints last week for changing up the Rate-O-Matic on you, so we're returning to the old format. Now, the Rate-O-Matic will reflect the collective score between you and what I think of a movie. Now, the reviews on this movie were definitely mixed, but I think that most of you agreed that this is an above-average film, and the score, a 7, definitely reflects that. You guys thought it was a cool movie. I personally might have given it a 6, maybe a 7. I think it's pretty much where it should be. Our second movie tonight is the 1989 science fiction film starring Kris Kristofferson and Cheryl Ladd. Millennium starts off very strong with perhaps one of the coolest concepts I've ever heard of in a sci-fi film. Kris Kristofferson plays Bill Smith, an ordinary guy with a boring name who is also an NTSB plane crash investigator. After one crash, he slowly starts to figure out a very troubling mystery unfolding involving the future and infertility. Cheryl Ladd plays opposite Kris Kristofferson as Louise Baltimore, a woman from the future who travels back in time on board doomed aircraft mid-flight to steal all of the passengers off the plane and bring them to the future before their planes crash. Their bodies are replaced with pre-burned replicas. Baltimore and her co-workers are from 1,000 years in the future and are unable to reproduce, so naturally their solution is to steal men and women from 1989 and force them to breed with each other in their crumbling dystopian future. And a really clever plot point, all of the characters from the future must constantly smoke cigarettes while traveling back to the 1980s, because they're accustomed to the polluted air, and apparently the air quality in 1989 is just too clean for them. As I said, in concept this movie is incredibly strong, with the science fiction aspects of time travel and paradox very well explained and well explored. Unfortunately, the movie fails in just about every other category. For one, Kristofferson is bland, boring, and uninspiring as the lead, who really just seems cranky for most of the movie. The character motivations are also highly suspect. At one point, Baltimore travels back in time in an attempt to distract Smith from discovering more about her body-snatching airplane plan. Her method of distraction? Have a one-night stand with him. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I signed on to this movie to see like a cool 80s B-movie about time travel. I did not want to see Kris Kristofferson have sex with a Charlie's Angel. No thanks. Besides this really bad romance plot that never felt right at all, I also had issue with the film's abysmal portrayal of the future. I mean, come on now, are we really meant to believe that 1989's perception of the future is 1987? I swear to God, in one scene I saw Madonna walk by. Halfway through the film, the narrative focus shifts to that of Baltimore as we follow her side of the story. And for some reason, the director finds it necessary to literally show the entire first half of the film again, from different camera angles. I mean, yes, now that we know what's really going on, watching the earlier scenes in the movie again from Baltimore's perspective helps us better understand the plot and the time travel aspects. But seriously, nearly 45 minutes of this film are shown twice. It's just bad writing and entirely inexcusable. But on a lighter note, this is certainly one of those so bad it's good sci-fi movies. At one point towards the end of the film, when the characters start to dick around with the temporal paradoxes, the computer consoles in the future start exploding and killing people. Right, so you're saying that if I go back in time to kill my grandfather, a computer console in 2989 is going to just burst into flames? Somehow I don't see that happening. Anyway, here's what you guys thought of Millennium. Dean Bear SYR wrote, Millennium was a passable time travel mystery movie. Basing a movie on John Varley's short story was chancy at best. The visual effects were so-so, but Cheryl Ladd's future punk look was very disturbing considering she was a former Charlie's Angel. Kris Kristofferson basically sleepwalked through this film. A good time waster when you're bored and channel surfing, but not worth renting or buying. Chainsaw Doctor wrote, Millennium was an amazing movie. It is one of those movies you have to appreciate for its time period. The movie was so cheesy that it was just amazing in its own right. Some may not agree, but I thought it was good for the cheese value. S13AR10A fan wrote, Millennium, I don't want to get into how lame this movie was. It wasn't awful, but pretty bad. 3 out of 10. Now personally, I enjoyed this film just enough for it to be at the very least a passable B movie, maybe scoring a 3 on my personal scale. But wow, you guys voted overwhelmingly negative for Millennium, leaving it with a whopping score of garbage. Not many of you actually voted because I don't think many of you have seen this movie, but those that did vote, 36% gave it a 1 on the Ratomatic. Worst score ever. Anyway, now it's time for tonight's Tweet Critique. Disney XD The Char wrote, Old Dogs, another prime example of good actors whoring themselves out for some cash. All the cameos suck balls. Ryan Austin F wrote, Zombieland, good, solid comedy. We actually care for the characters, but it does lack story. Made me roll on the floor laughing. Anyway, I give it a 9 out of 10. Starwood Fox wrote, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Greatest stop-motion film yet. This movie was entertaining and kept me in my seat. I might just see it a second time. If you have a tweet critique you'd like to see on Movie Night, all you have to do is review a recently released movie that we haven't talked about on the show and add the JPMN hashtag to your tweet. I'll go through them before next episode and pick out my favorites. That does it for tonight's episode of Movie Night, so now let's take a look at the movies we'll be reviewing for next week. Julia and Julia and Public Enemies are both brand new on DVD. Both were released yesterday, so I hope you get a chance to buy, rent, or download them before next week. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for joining me, and have a good night.